Well, thank you for coming out. I have my honored guests of my nephew and his girlfriend and my mom here. So thank you especially. Um, and such beautiful, familiar faces, friends. I think besides being grateful for this amazing gallery and the curation that Abby and Gundy do and the community that they build, I'm grateful for the artist community. You guys are such amazing supports. I just love how everyone shows up. So thank you so much. It means a lot to me. Um, why am I here? Seriously, I'm like, why me? Why am I here? What am I supposed to talk about? What do I have to offer? Um, Maybe I'm here because I'm friends with Abby and Gundy, and and there's a sympathy thing, and it's like, oh, we're right. But those are the words, and those are the thoughts that go through my head. And I think we probably all, on some level, as humans, struggle with the feeling of inadequacy, not enough, the voices, the things that we have to redefine for ourselves. And that's why I chose this title, my working title, to redefine, because I feel like it's so easy to fall into the beliefs that we tell ourselves time and time again of, oh, you're not this, you're not an artist, or you're not enough, and you're not. It's like, it's just voices. It's just a narrative that can be changed at any time. Not just regarding art, but regarding relationships, regarding social media, all the things that we tell ourselves. It's like, this doesn't necessarily have to be your narrative. And so that was my intention behind this work, is to redefine, not just my art, but also bring awareness to what it is I'm telling myself. And do I really believe that? And why do I believe that? So it's been really freeing. It's been really liberating in many ways. And it's been really joyful too. So anyway, a little bit about this body. A lot of these pieces are pieces that I have shown before, and they no longer spoke to me. I kind of felt like, and it's actually a few of them I didn't even like to look at, because I could remember where I was in my creative process. I could remember the story behind the creation, and I didn't like looking at it anymore. I didn't really want that memory, and if I don't want it on my wall, who's going to want it on their wall? So it was really actually very freeing uh, ability to redo it. And there were several in particular that came up in I can't remember the title of, I think it was another show I did. And I had these strange bottles popping up in my subconscious and coming out and expressing. And I was like, yeah, I just really don't like this story anymore. And I really am quite happy with how I was able to change these bottle images to a beautiful butte. And this is kind of deep, dark rock place. And you can still see a few of the images. I'm kind of pointing to the middle one there, where you can still see an outline of a bottle. Thank you, Abby. And there are a few more that have those images where that you can see just a hint, because I mean, truly, it's like, yeah, you can redefine your story, but there still is a little bit of that substrate behind it. There still is the reality of what was there, but then the beauty of redefining it and having it become something that I just adore. So, and then I took a lot of my encaustic pieces and melted them down and created a surface I could rework. And a lot of them really just spoke to me as landscapes. I'm not necessarily a landscape artist. I don't do plein air. I don't, typically paint that. But they would just call to me. And I think the thing that's interesting with art is that it's really a dance between the intuitive and then the intellect, and that back and forth. It's like when I can just throw myself into it, it's great. And then I back up and then do that critique. And I've actually had some eyes on to help me critique, which is, super helpful too, because sometimes you almost get too close to your work and you can't really see it anymore. So I appreciate those that are able to give me feedback. So yeah, I feel really, really, really good about this piece of work, body of work, and I appreciate you all coming out. Let's see. Well, before I go with questions, I never made it to the book club, Chris, but I love this book so much, and I read it a lot. I listen to the whole thing, and this has really struck me and has been kind of part of the conversation that I've had with other artists. And it's anyway, I'll just read it, and then we can talk more. Sorry, it's allergies or something, but oh, sorry. Yes. The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. And it's just a gem. It's like tiny, little chapters where you can read and digest, and you can just open it up and read whatever speaks to you. It's quite awesome. But this one is called Everyone is a Creator. Those who do not engage in the traditional arts might be wary of calling themselves artists. They might perceive creativity as something extraordinary or beyond their capabilities, a calling for a special few who are born with these gifts. Fortunately, this is not the case. Creativity is not a rare ability. It is not difficult to access. Creativity is a fundamental aspect of being human. It's our birthright, and it's for all of us. Creativity doesn't exclusively relate to art making. We are engaged in this act on a daily basis. To create is to bring something into existence that wasn't there before. It could be a conversation, a solution to a problem, a note to a friend, a rearrangement of furniture. It could even be an amazing charcuterie board. I threw that in. But truly, I have some amazing artist friends and friends that just can create and bake, and it's art. So to live as an artist is a way of being in the world, a way of perceiving, a practice of paying attention, refining our sensitivity to tune in to the more subtle notes, looking for what draws us in and what pushes us away, noticing what feeling and tone arise and where they lead. Attuned choice by attuned choice. Your entire life is a form of self-expression. You exist as a creative being in a creative universe, a singular work of art. And I just love that so much because I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with other artists or just people in general where they play small. I'm like, oh, I do this, but I'm not really an artist. It's like, no, you really are, because really, ultimately, we all are artists. We all are creating, and it's our human birthright and expression. And so that's basically what I wanted to talk about tonight, was just a nod to you all as artists, because we all are. And how lucky are we to create? So, ta-da. That's it. Any questions?
I would love to hear a little bit more about the bottle work and what that was for you initially. And you don't have to share, the depth of it. But yeah. What about that made you stop, and when did you stop and then restart?
Well, that body of work was working through a relationship that had been influenced by alcoholism, and it really truly came up subconsciously. I think oftentimes when I paint, things just come out, and it's not like I'm going to paint about this trauma, but it was, and it wasn't even a trauma until really hindsight, where it's like, wow, that really did happen, and so that's why the bottles came up. And I actually couldn't even really talk about it in that body of work at that time, because it just felt a little too vulnerable and too raw. But because I've been able to transform it and redefine it. And now I look at it and like, yeah, that happened. And that was challenging and that was painful. And we all go through moments of incredible sadness and pain and challenge. And yet you move through it and you get on the other side and then you can find the beauty in it and the silver linings. And yeah, so that's kind of what that's about. Thank you. Thanks. Any other questions? Yes.
When you start, what, how much of the finished product do you have in your head?
Sometimes zero.
Sometimes zero. Do you find that, so when you don't know what it's going to look like, do you find that to be harder or easier than when you have an idea?
You know, it's a great question because some of the encaustic paintings, because they were already produced, were pretty easy to go, oh, this is what evokes for me. Starting with a really just a blank slate is a little more challenging, but then I'm just like throwing stuff on to see kind of what comes out. I feel like for the most part, I start very intuitively and I see what is coming out and then I bring that out because I don't look at a photograph, although it's sometimes fun to go, oh, this is what's missing and this is what needs to happen, that this is where the light is and the shadow. I mean, to have that kind of guidance and reference is really helpful, and I think that's what makes the abstracted kind of work more challenging in some ways. I did a course during COVID with an artist called Nicholas Wilton. I don't know, some of you might know him. He's an abstract painter and he's quite prolific and he does a great, he's got a great package going on in San Francisco and outside where he lives. And it was helpful in many ways, but it also was very hindering because I found myself just kind of imitating and copying. And that's why some of these were really fun to redo because it's like, I don't know why I made that mark. It's because Nicholas Wilton said to bring everyone around and have it be like an amusement park, and you're trying to take them everywhere around the canvas. And so I think part of it is just finding my own voice in it, and oftentimes I don't know until I know. And even so, it's like some of these might come home with me and I might be redefining them yet again. So I don't know. But yeah, it's a great question. I don't know. How is it for you? Because I know you do more, you do plein air. Yeah, working from photographs. So.
I want to know a little bit more about, you mentioned that you don't typically lean towards painting landscapes. And for as long as I've known you, it's definitely been more of like an abstract focused work. Mm-hmm. So what did you feel or what evoked you to lean towards painting so many landscapes for this particular body of work?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think part of it was that that's just what came out of the blending and pulling back and kind of getting my surface prepared from the encaustic medium, and then I would go in with cold wax on top of the wax medium, the wax on wax. And I think that I did a show prior where it was called You Are the Sky. Everything else is just the weather. Mm-hmm. And so with You Are the Sky, I started painting more skies and then landscapes. So that kind of just has evolved. And I enjoy it. And it actually is very refreshing if you actually have an image to look at to know how to correct it. But I also really know in my heart I love to abstract things. So it's like you can look at it and go, is that a sea or is that a mountain or, is that a field? I don't know. So I kind of enjoy that.
Now, I'm not all seeing and all knowing, but I've seen enough of your work to realize, as you've discussed, this is a departure on your work. Mm. But I think what strikes me really most prolifically, and I'm super in love with what you've done, is your palette is so different than what I've seen in the past. What is the impetus for that big palette change? Is it because it's mostly landscape stuff, or?
maybe so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would think maybe so. I mean, I usually don't paint with a lot of pink, but my morning walks with Enzo are just like pink, and it's amazing. And there's so much pink in the skies and our beautiful sunrises. So I think that might be part of it. And I've always been drawn to the greens for sure. And I do like just kind of the moody blues that are moody. Thank you all for coming out. I so appreciate your support. What a beautiful community that we have here. Thank you, Abby and Gundy, so much. Thanks.